good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our beautiful viewers around the globe, and welcome to another chat with another beautiful guest on Intimate Conversations. And today our guest is Creighton. So welcome, Karen, and thank you for saying yes and coming in, because as I do with everyone here, we're sort of watching everyone on Facebook. There's the social media thing that we follow and whatever platform that might be. And watching you over the years too, and often we don't get to meet and have a actual get to know each other a bit. And this is what I wanted with Intimate Conversations, was to be able to highlight those who have been in these sort of industries for a long time, and just, for us to get to know you a wee bit more on a personal level as well. And so thank you for coming in and having this chat.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's always such a pleasure to meet amazing, amazing souls like yourself, Mandy. So
thank you. So, Karen, you've been in the health industry or the wellness industry and natural health for a very long time, and we'll get into that in a moment. I'd love you to just tell me all about your exciting stuff that's going on as you get into it later on down the track, what you offer, and where people can find you. But first of all, when you were a young child, were you like consciously aware? Did you have an idea of what you were coming in here to do at all? Or, how was that dynamics, if so, in your family? If not, what was the dynamics, and how did you, come into that where you are?
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it, really? And I think, my earliest memories of a child is sitting underneath the rhododendron bush that was in our garden and having a conversation with the rhododendron and chatting. And then it's really quite interesting is a little bit later where we moved house, and I'd never seen a bluebell wood before.
Oh.
And I had to walk through, which I did. It wasn't a bluebell wood when I first walked through it from school. So, and one morning, this bluebell wood just appeared. The bluebells just appeared out of nowhere, and
gorgeous.
I was mesmerized, and I believed. I went and sat in the bluebells because I lost an hour and got to school late and got into trouble. So I was 7. and it's only relatively recently that I had a flashback of where I went for that hour, and basically into another state, and whether it was another world or whether it was another, but it was basically, I just lost. And the interesting thing is there is a sort of tale about bluebells and bluebell woods and how children have often disappeared in a bluebell wood.
Wow, really?
So yeah, so that's my first awareness of being a real nature child, But
I love that.
Then what happened, of course, is life happened, and I would say the programming kicked in, and so then I went into teenagehood and got into all sorts of tricks, and saying that, I was very, very aware of the control mechanisms in subconscious. So I used to go to church, not because my family were religious, but because there was a church at the end of the road, and I wanted to wear a posh frock and my posh patent leather shoes.
Oh,
I went to Sunday school. So I went to Sunday school till I was about 12. And then I sort of was questioning. And then in the village where we lived, there were 5 other churches. And so I decided to take myself off to all of these churches. And I was distinctly miffed, actually, because they were all saying the same thing, but saying that they were right.
Yes.
And so then I started looking into the mystical religions and all of those sorts of things. And then, so I was about 13 by this time. And then I discovered the wonderful world of the opposite sex and parties and concerts and, you know, all of that stuff, and then got dragged along with that. And then basically the spiritual world came back in when I got sick. So I got chronic fatigue in my mid-20s.
Right.
And that got me in, that's how I got into natural health. And at the same time, that's how I got into learning more about there's much, much more than this physical place that we're in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I remembered, then I forgot, remembered again.
And then reminded again.
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful, eh? And how things just sort of just divinely play out for us to find that place again and to remind ourselves again. It's so beautiful. I love how it all unfolds.
Oh, there's no such thing as coincidence, is there? You
No.
know, I know that everything that's happened to me, and I know everyone else, happens for a very good reason. Like, I got quite sick when I was I was 18, and I mean, I was doing 3 jobs, and I was busy because I was saving up to go traveling and burning the candle at both ends, basically.
Yeah.
I got these blinding headaches, you know. And I went to the local doctor, and normally we had a family doctor at that time, but there was a locum, and he basically told me that it was something I'd eaten.
Right.
And so basically, being that age, I went, right, okay, well, I won't eat anything then. And the headache, I mean, I never had headaches, and it wasn't something I was prone to. And the headache got worse and worse. And so I went to the doctor's again a couple of days later, and another locum. And he said, oh no, she said, you've got sinusitis, and gave me a heavy dose of antibiotics looking back. And the headache just compounded. 2 days later, I was at work and I just collapsed.
Wow.
Got taken home. Our family doctor came back, and he basically said, did blood tests and stuff. I had glandular fever with Epstein-Barr and cytomegalovirus.
Wow.
And basically I was in bed for 3 months. And our family doctor said to my mum, she should never have been given those drugs. And the root cause, I believe, of me being so ill was because of that misdiagnosis, which actually sent me to, when I did get chronic fatigue a few years later, I never went to the doctors because I had a deep, deep distrust of them.
Right. Yes.
So I went looking for something else. And that,
Right.
to me, is because I would have been working previously. At that time, I was running pubs and wine bars and stuff. So I had a wonderful social life, Mandy, you know, social, lovely food, lovely drink, lovely, you know, everything, lots and lots of people. And basically, but I wasn't happy in what I was doing because it didn't feel right, you know.
Mm.
And so consequently, getting sick sent me on a wonderful journey that has continued, you know.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so that's the sort of précis dumb version.
Yeah, that's again beautiful, but at the time it's not, is it? You know, when we're working our way through something like that, because that would have been huge for you, having all that going on. It was massive.
It was, but you know, when you're in the middle of something, you just do it, don't you?
You do.
And I've never been, I really don't enjoy people looking after me, you know, people having to look up. And so consequently, I was absolutely determined that I was going to get over this, you know, because although I didn't go to the doctors for diagnosis, I'd been to practitioners and stuff. And a lot of them told me that it's incurable. And I went, no, don't believe it, you know. And then I had some amazing teachers that taught me that there's no such thing as incurable. And so,
Exactly.
and I'll believe that one. you know.
Yeah, that's been me too all my life. Exactly that. That's massive. So, so you've put together some. It's just saying my internet dropped out there, but it didn't affect, and that's all good. You've put together some beautiful programs, and I have to say I've tried your drops. I'm still using your drops, and they are an incredible. They're incredible. And what I noticed was how much they cleaned out my organs, my body.
Mm.
Very, very cool. And I've
Yeah.
gone off and now I'm coming back. It's one of those too.
Yeah, and
But
I think, you know, we have to
amazing.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so tell us about that. How you, because you make medicine, don't you? I mean, you do put these things together, as well as you've got programs and plans that are for women or people to lose weight. You know, I know there's a lot of the target is women, but it is for anyone, isn't it? Men and women, of
Absolutely.
course.
The main reason, I'll go into a bit about the medicine stuff, but the main
Yeah.
reason that that I concentrate on women is simply because they're the ones that have always come to me first.
Right. Yeah.
And so what happens very often is when someone, the lovely lady comes along, starts the program, and the men see how well they're doing and they want to go on it too. And that's what really happens. So
Yeah.
behind the scenes, there's quite a few partners who are on the program at the same time.
Beautiful.
So the making of products has been something that I was trained to do from about 19. It's a bit of a story really, because in 1990, part of my journey was having allergy tests done. And
Right.
so whenever I found something that's worked for me, I studied it.
Yeah.
So, you know, nutrition, herbalism, iridology, but allergy testing came along. And I thought, right, this is one, you know, I felt so much better taking gluten out and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I decided to study with this guy who had these machines called a Vega machine, and you know, you could put vials in and test. And I thought, right, I need to do that. So I went and saw this guy, and he was 86 when he was teaching us. He was amazing. And I realized that he had so much more than what he was teaching, because he taught us some
Yeah.
amazing stuff, you know.
Mm.
And it turns out he was a homeopath and quantum physicist. And so consequently, I managed to persuade him to impart some of his knowledge to me. So over a period of 4 years, I sort of was his apprentice, I suppose. And so he taught me how to make very powerful homeopathics from scratch, how to create essences from plants and well, anything actually.
Yes. Yeah.
And he taught me how to make some really powerful remedies and how to blend them and how to just use them with clients, because sometimes they can be incredibly powerful and sometimes they can be a bit too powerful for some delicate beings. And so
Yeah.
consequently, that's how I started creating remedies and started creating. So my first lot of remedies, which were meridian remedies, and rather mistakenly, so this is in 1999, I made this set of meridian remedies, and I created them, and they really are good. But what I didn't do is write down the ingredients.
Oh no.
So
Yeah.
some of these remedies, I mean, I've got the mothers, so I can still create them. But basically, I can't explain to people what's in them because I don't know. So when I came to create the quantum essences, which are essences that support people when they're on their journey of detox and everything, so they're basically emotional and physical support. They're called quantum essences. When I created those, I was very careful to write everything down. And although I just sort of, when I make these, I just sort of surround myself with all the different essences I've got, and I just get guided as to what to pick together. And the interesting thing is when I released them as a practitioner course, I had to sort of like write the practitioner course, as to things. And so when I started researching these essences, they all did beautiful, they just went and combined together for the reason that I put them together. And I realized that if I'd have tried to research everything and put them in, it would have taken me years.
Yes.
Whereas Dear Divine Guidance was basically put this in, put this in, put this in, and they go together. That's all good.
Oh.
So that's how the essences came about. But the programs that I've created, so my first program, Fast Track to Health, came about because of my struggle again. So I've always had an issue around my weight, like so many women, felt I wasn't good enough in my teens, and then the journey of weights and stuff. But when I was in my sort of early 40s, I was more or less okay. I didn't put on weight, and then all of a sudden, the stress of financial meltdown. We had a real financial meltdown. And also the stress of losing my mum in the UK and dealing with all of that, and menopause coming along.
Yeah.
So over the period of about a year, I put on 25 kgs.
Right.
That sent me in a spiral of, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. If I can't look after me, how can I help others? All of those things,
Yeah.
Anyway, after about 6 months of self-pity and actually trying to exercise the weight away, because in the past, exercise and, well, not too much, but exercise and reducing food and everything did it, like many women, you can do that very often in 30s. And then, so I tried loads of different things. So in the end, what happened is I'd devised a sort of program for allergy when I did the allergies. So it was Detox Your Allergies.
Yeah.
And it was a list of low inflammatory foods, which is Fast Track food list.
Yes.
And so the reason I put those together is because they seldom came up as intolerances or allergies. And so I put those together. And the great thing was with that is the weight stopped going on.
Yeah.
So that was a relief, but it didn't come off either. And so I did lots of trials with various different herbs and various different homeopathics. And in 2010, bingo, the weight started dropping off. And so that is what started people wanting to do Fast Track because they saw me and they wanted to do it. And then they spiral. And of course, it's evolved hugely since then.
Yeah.
So the homeopathics have evolved and tweaked because we're all changing,
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's Fast Track. And then fast forward, that was 2010, and it started to grow. And then in 2022, and we all know what went on in 2020, and what I was finding early 22 January, I was getting a lot of clients who were very, very sick. They'd had sort of injuries from the jabs. They were also highly stressed and everything. And I was researching to try and find solutions.
Right.
And so Ultimate Detox came along from that because the homeopathic is like Fast Track on steroids. So it's really, really based on helping the body eliminate toxins and of all types. And then there's a herbal there to support the detoxification processes and other things I get people to do, like fasting and that sort of stuff. So it's sort of real, it's a really beneficial 12-week program. It's relatively easy, but very profound.
It's easy when you're living on your own, for sure. Absolutely. I found that. And what I did find is because you're journaling every day as well, which is really great. And what it did show me is where my habits were.
Yeah.
What, you know, those things that popped up going, oh, okay, yeah, I get that now. That's what that is. Yeah, it was really, really interesting. And I I feel like I gave it a go, yes, but I want to get back in.
Yes.
There's some things have clicked since I've looked back into it and thought, when I was doing that, this was happening. When I did that, this was the other thing that was happening. And it was like I could feel the change in my body. But what I did notice was the cleanliness in it. It had cleaned me out. And I could feel that. There was a definite shift in that for me.
Yeah. That's the object of anyone who works in this field, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Is to help the body help itself.
Yes. Yes.
Because, yeah, our bodies are phenomenal.
They are. And what I realized, Karen, was that it's going to do everything it can to keep me alive. And I wasn't actually trying to help it do that. Really.
Yeah.
I've neglected it for many years, you know, and it was like, and didn't love it. You know, I had that image because I put on weight too. And it was that it just didn't love me in that respect, in my body. So it was that I needed to change that. Once I started moving, that whole thing was then I was able to actually, right, now let's do the good food stuff and the, you know, really take care of it and help it. Because it
Yeah.
wasn't.
We've been sold a lot of lies as well
Totally that. Absolutely.
with what's good for us and what's not good for us.
Yeah.
It's, once I was introduced to the world of natural health and of actual health, real health,
Mm,
the body is very capable of dealing with anything if we give it the right ingredients.
absolutely.
And there's so much history within herbalist, nearly every form of modality, where
Mm,
clients have rid themselves of disease processes they've been told is going to take their lives.
yeah.
And there's a lot of history behind that, and how, in actual fact, our traditional, we won't say actually not traditional, allopathic medicine is
Yeah.
actually teaching us that we can't look after ourselves.
Mm,
And I believe we're very, very capable of looking after ourselves.
yeah.
We are, our body is a wonderful machine if we give it the right fuel. But we've had so much marketing put to us over the last decades
Yeah.
that this is good for you and this is bad for you. But what we're learning now is, if it says on Wikipedia or if it says on Google, this is good for you, you do the complete opposite.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so, if you're going to research, you need to go and look at research in not those modules, not to
Yeah.
listen to the newspapers, not to listen to the TV, but listen, if you can, to what goes on in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
This.
And the you know, it's so intelligent. This is where our intelligence is the
Yeah,
body.
yeah,
It is. And absolutely listening to that.
yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. I do love your products. I really do. I think they're fantastic, and I'm promoting them everywhere to everyone that I can.
Thank you, Mandy.
Because
I
they,
really appreciate that.
yeah. And the program, so you did the fast track to health, yeah, and then you've got what else?
Ultimate detox. So
Yep.
the fast track is 40 or 80 days. So fast track it was designed, as I say, for my weight, and it really does help weight. But what I've learned over the years is basically, if you let go of excess weight, I see it as a good sign that the body's healing itself, because we retain weight because the body's under stress.
Yeah.
And stress being the root cause, I believe, of the reason why we put on weight in the first place.
Yes. Yeah.
And that stress can be so many different things.
Yeah. Definitely that. Yeah.
We're all experiencing stress at one way, shape, or form. And, you know, many clients have said, come into me and they put on weight and they go, well, I'm not stressed, you know, I have a great life, you know, I don't have any stressors. And then but there is always a stress going on if you're putting on weight. So it might not be external stress, it might not be financial stress, it might not be marital stress or anything like that, but there will be something going on in your body that's causing a stress response.
Yes.
That can be bacteria, viral, fungal, parasites, can be chemicals, it can be heavy metals, it can be a myriad of all of them.
Yeah.
Because we're exposed to all these chemicals every single day.
Yes.
And so consequently, no wonder our bodies are getting overloaded.
Absolutely.
So by cutting back on foods that can potentially be causing your body another stress, enables the body to go, I can deal with that now.
Yeah.
And that's why the intermittent fasting is so beneficial. And the interesting thing is, in 2010, intermittent fasting hadn't been named.
No.
I was getting clients to do it anyway. So, you know, intermittent fasting is proving now to be hugely beneficial.
Yes, I love it.
Allow the body to relax and get rid of stuff. And so it's giving the body the opportunity to just be. And, you know, we've been taught by this marketing machine that we need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And very often in some modalities, it's eating 6 times a day to keep your metabolic rate going.
Yeah.
And that's a fallacy.
Yeah, I believe so too.
So I know it's a fallacy. I've tried it. You know, I tried it in my, you know, it didn't work. Might do for some, but most of it won't. And it's a bit like, oh, well, I haven't shared with you, and I think you probably know this already about me, Mandy, but others might not, is when I was 18, 19, I turned vegetarian.
Yeah.
And I was vegetarian for 20 years, and 5 years of that, I was vegan. And I never could work out why I didn't feel as good as I thought I should.
Yeah, I get that.
Because I'd been taught being vegan, you should have all this energy and you should feel amazing. And so I went, so I then, like many people, believed that I wasn't doing it right.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I went more extreme. So I went raw vegan and I just, and then got sicker and not sicker and sicker, but just lower and lower energy.
Yeah.
And one morning we were living on the canal boat, and this was in 1999. I remember this day vividly. Is I woke up in the morning and I went, I need chicken. And my poor husband, bless him, he's been along this journey with me for a long time. And he was vegan, vegetarian at the time. And he went, okay, let's go and find chicken. So we went to Waitrose, who actually, they were cooking free-range chicken. And we got a free-range chicken and devoured it.
Right.
And literally, I never looked back.
Yeah.
So I started slowly introducing meat and everything else, and I felt so much better.
Yes, I totally get that. I do. I tried vegan I did the vegetarian thing for about 6 months, and it wasn't too bad. But then I thought I'll try the vegan thing, and oh my God, it felt like my throat had been cut. Honestly, I didn't like it. And I even I still made I was not going to give up the eggs. So I didn't do it fully, but oh my God, no, I love meat. I can't do it without meat.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how I did 20 years.
Yeah.
It was actually depriving myself, to be honest. You know, it's deprivation.
Yeah.
And there was a deep-seated sense of not deserving.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
not
I
deserving.
totally get that. I felt like I was depriving myself too.
Yeah,
And I was like,
yeah,
why are you actually doing this? I don't know. I don't need to do this. After
yeah,
3 months, it was me done
yeah,
with the vegan thing. Can't
yeah.
do it.
So I suppose I'm just stubborn, Mandy, that I thought that I probably, you know, had to
Stuck
stick.
to it for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and now, of course, I introduced the carnivore program
Yes.
to fast track first, and
Mhm.
then there's also the carnivore alternative to ultimate detox. So I give people the choice, and you can start with the low inflammatory food, and then you can try carnivore if you want to, or you can go headlong into carnivore if it feels right.
Yeah.
And the reason the carnivore diet is really taking off is simply because, have you ever heard of anyone who's allergic to beef?
No.
When I was doing allergy testing, specializing in it, never had anyone allergic to beef or lamb. And
Pork,
so
pork is different, eh, Karen?
pork's a bit different because it's the digestive system of pork is very different, and
I
also
find it
what they
hard to
eat is very
digest.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some people do, some people don't. I mean, you know, there's levels, you know, there's levels of low inflammatory eating, there's levels of carnivore. So I would call myself an almost carnivore
Right.
because I have things like olives, and I have herbs and spices, and whereas there is strict carnivores who only eat beef.
Oh, wow.
Water. Now, the reason they do that is simply because they have an ailment or illness that their body's trying to deal with.
Right.
And they feel good on it, you know.
Yeah.
And if the
Hmm.
body is unable to cope with adding extra foods, then I would suggest their gut hasn't healed yet. But you know, it's just a timing thing. And so
Right.
I'm never going to say I'm not going to have a salad again, because I'm not, because I sometimes feel like something, you know.
Yeah.
But what I have found though is with the carnivore is I'm never hungry and I never crave anything. When
Right.
I was doing the low inflammatory at times, again with stress levels, I found that my go-to thing, it's always been since being a child, my go-to during stress is potato crisps.
Yeah.
You know, you get the proper crisps or you get kettle chips or wherever they were. They were my go-to. And I could easily devour a whole packet.
Yeah.
And if there was any in the house, they'd get eaten, you know. And so since being on the carnivore, I think I've eaten potato crisps 3 times and I've only had 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I've gone, "What's that all about?" You know, because basically it cuts out the cravings.
Right.
Simply because the body's getting what it needs. It's getting the energy it needs so that it can do what it needs to do for us.
Okay.
And, you know, it really has helped so many clients with their food addictions. And because many of us get addicted to foods, and it also helps us releasing the emotional component around food as well, because so many people have huge emotional attachment to food.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness. I think it's one of probably the biggest addiction on the planet, to be honest. I really do. Um, it just baffles me to think that, you know, say you were living on your own, all you were doing is buying meat. That would just be weird as weird, because we have variety of thing, you know, all the salad stuffs, or, you know, if people into bread, then there's the buns and different breads, and it's just like there's It just feels so weird to hone it into one thing and that's it. It's so,
Well,
so.
yeah. I mean, most people, if they're doing steak and things, you know, I advocate steak and butter. You know, butter
Yeah.
is hugely beneficial. So the great thing about that, Mandy, though, yes, I hear you. Our fridge does appear quite empty because
But I
it's,
love that though too.
yeah, yeah. The thing is, it's the simplicity of cooking,
Yes.
the
Oh,
simplicity of shopping.
yes.
You don't have to go down any of the aisles. You don't,
Yeah.
you just go to the butchers or the fishmongers department. And
Yeah.
very often we don't go to the supermarkets, we go to the butchers and support the local economy.
Yeah. That's what I would.
And also, you know, we're lucky here, we're up in the Bay of Islands, you know, we've got friends who are growing cows.
Yeah.
And so we often
Yeah.
get offered those. And also I support the organic farm who do home delivery of various different meats. Like they do organic pork, which is often easier to digest than non-organic pork, more expensive,
Yes.
but and they do organic lamb and they do the beef. And so, you know, supporting these companies that are doing such amazing work, you know.
Yes. I do that too. I like that. Like the
Yeah.
farmer's market, you know, rather
Yeah.
than going to the supermarket. That's incredible. The more I hear about it, because I love the fasting, and do you know, I no, this is getting a bit personal in a sense, I suppose, but not really either. We're all out there now, aren't we? But it's like I went camping and the cabin, you know, so it's a privately owned cabin and was there, but it's in the motor camp, so you're sharing like it's, you know, power and blah blah. And there were cooking facilities obviously in the cabin, but no toilet. So there was a portaloo. And so in the morning I'd go over and empty the bucket basically at the main toilets in the camp. And honestly, Karen, I could not believe, and I still think about it, how much I let go in a night.
Yeah.
How much fluid was in that bucket in the morning, like actual.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I don't know whether that I should be bothered about that. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know whether that's a thing or not. I'm not sure, but I suppose the good thing is that I am releasing that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's two things about
yeah,
that. So
yeah,
basically, if you're drinking lots and lots of water and your body's not absorbing it, then, you know, releasing it. So if you're having to get up in the middle of the night so many times,
I
if you're
do.
not on a program, so
Yeah,
if you're not on a program and you're not intentionally letting go of stuff, then urinating so often might mean that you're not absorbing the water that you're drinking. And that's often the case because if it's sort of like town water with all the chemicals and things in, and also the frequency of the water isn't as beneficial as, say, really good filtered water that goes through processes. And you can put crystals and things in your water to make it more absorbable. But very often what people aren't doing is having enough salt, good quality Celtic or good quality Himalayan salt.
yeah,
If you're not having enough salt, it's very likely you're not absorbing your water and you're also not getting enough minerals. However, when you are on a program and you're on low inflammatory foods, what happens there is your body can then let go of inflammation. And when you think of when we've got inflammation, that inflammation is basically the body's response to an injury or an abrasion. So your body builds up water around that abrasion, and
yeah.
so consequently, what happens is the root cause of that abrasion is gone. So then it can let go of that water, which is
Right.
why when people first start on a program like mine, they tend to get up quite a few times in the night and they find that they've dropped a kilo or so overnight, and it's water weight, it's inflammation weight, which is a really, really good thing because people say, oh, it's just water weight. Well, if you're carrying that water weight around,
I
it's
know.
not just water weight, is it? You know, it affects every area of your body. It affects your heart. It affects everything. So
yeah. And you know, when I was carrying the bucket over,
yeah,
even picked it up, I was like, that is a lot of weight in there. You know, and if that's what I'm carrying around a lot, my concern was whether my kidneys were working too much. You know, was it too much overload for my kidneys, say? But yeah, it's a bit annoying because it used to be every 2 hours I'd wait to go to the loo in the night. And now it's like it's lengthening out a bit, which is really lovely. And I'm getting in like at least 4 to 5 hours before I have to get up again, which I never got into good sleep for years and years.
Well, that's a good sign, because you know, we expect our bodies to do things like that because we're so used to having a medication, a tablet, which takes away the pain, which actually masking something going on.
Yes.
So what you're doing by doing it gradually is actually the body is really going, I can do this. And it might be doing small things each day,
Yeah.
but those small things add up.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's like, let's be patient with the healing process. It takes a long time for us to get in the situation that we got into. So the thing is like, for example, someone with arthritis, it takes a long time for the body to create those arthritic nodules, that pain and everything else.
Yes.
So consequently, for real healing to take place, takes time too.
Yeah.
So the sort of like this doesn't always happen, but the sort of like, for every year someone's been sick, and that's like getting any symptoms whatsoever, it takes at least a month to heal.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
And so, yes, we can, you know, the theory is that every cell of our body gets replenished, and that includes bones and everything else, within 2 years. And that's very true. But if we're putting the same ingredients into our body as we were 2 years ago, we're going to have the same body and we're actually going to get worse. But if we stop that and we start putting better things into our body, then gradually, those cells become more and more invigorated.
Yes. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And fasting increases that.
Look,
So,
you know, it does. And I was brought up with the 3 meals a day. You know, Dad was a farmer, shearer, so there was always smokos in between. You know, morning smoko, afternoon smoko. So without having the smokos, because I didn't really do that unless it was a weekend, we were at school, but Mum cooked a breakfast every morning, poached egg on toast, and that was our thing every single morning. That lady did that for us while we were at school, and I really thank her for that, because I know that was a good breakfast. And I'm not into the sweet stuff, so cereal wouldn't have done it for me. So the egg on toast was great. But I always had the breakfast. And then years later, I'm still having breakfast and I'm thinking, I'm eating this, but I actually am not hungry. I don't feel like having this food right now. So I started culling out my breakfast, and everyone's like, oh no, your breakfast is your main meal of the day.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know? And I was sort of like this, but I kept with it, because it was like, I'm not eating that. If I don't feel like it, why do I need to have it? I don't. So I've done that for years now, been just doing the fasting. I don't eat until midday. Sometimes I've forgotten and don't get there till 2 o'clock, have my first food for the day. But it's not like I'm starving and I need to have something. I can get to that point if I leave it too long, but it's a great thing. My body feels much better for it.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about it ancestrally, you know, when we were sort of slightly what we'd call less civilized, that we couldn't get food from a shop, for example, we wouldn't have said, oh, we've got to have breakfast and we've got to have it at this time of day.
No.
And we've got to have lunch and we've got to have it at this time of the day. And we have to have snacks in between. Our ancestors would have like, what are you talking about? You know, so basically we would have 1 or 2 meals a day if we were lucky. And then we would have had times where would have fasted. And that's where everything starts to really kick in. And I did a sort of 3-day 72-hour fasting group a
Yeah.
little while. Oh my gosh, it was fascinating to see what was going on in our bodies if you do a water fast for 72 hours. And so it's a fascinating sort of journey process of what changes within our body at certain times. So, for example, if we look at intermittent fasting, so you do the 12-hour stint where you don't eat anything, your body starts then going, okay, glycogen is cutting down a bit, and so I can look for energy elsewhere. At 17 hours of intermittent fasting, so basically you have 17 hours of not eating, what happens then is your body will then go into ketosis.
Yes.
So it uses fat as energy. Hugely beneficial. It's an ideal fuel for us.
I love
it.
Yeah.
And then at 24 hours, it becomes a fat burning machine. And then, every sort of 12 hours, the things start changing. Our stem cells start being created. And, people pay thousands of dollars for stem cell implants to help recreate. We can do that ourselves. We don't have to go and pay thousands of dollars for that.
Yes.
We can do it ourselves. All we need is motivation.
Yeah.
And guidance. And actually a bit of willpower,
Yeah. I haven't done the water fasting for how long did you do that for?
Well,
3 days.
we did it for 72 hours, so 3 days.
Yeah.
But as I said to everyone, is you can start with doing 24 hours.
Right.
So basically, you have your last meal. So say, for example, Sunday, you have your last meal at 7 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Monday, you can have your dinner at 7:30 and you have done 24 hours.
Right.
You can do 36 hours. So it's 48 hours is where the real emotional stuff starts to prepare.
Yes.
Where the dopamines and everything and all of those wonderful hormones start to change and shift. That's 48 hours. And actually, it's quite an easy do. Many, many ladies manage to do it. And it's like, if you have addiction to different foods and things, then doing 18 hours is a good thing to start with. And so, especially if there's a big propensity to sugar, which you don't have, Mandy, but a lot of people really are addicted to sugar, and sugar is the highest addiction, more addictive than heroin and cocaine, evidently. I've never been drawn to sugars either, but there's those hidden sugars. If you're a carbohydrate freak, if you love your pies or whatever, then you're getting lots of sugar. And so it's actually really getting us to sort of look at our food. This is the most important thing to me, I think, is basically getting people to look at what we're putting in our mouths. We get these packaged foods and most people don't even look to see what's in it.
Yeah.
When you look at it, you go, holy moly, the list of ingredients is huge.
Yeah.
And you're going back to the vegan food, I don't do shopping. So my husband, when we do need shopping, goes shopping. And so it was a couple of years ago now, I went shopping. It was a bit of a treat, going shopping, but not really. And then I saw the amount of vegan foods in the supermarket, and I went and looked at the ingredients list, and I went, holy moly, this is so unhealthy.
I know, this is what I notice, and how I know quite a few vegetarians, and they really don't look healthy to me, and they aren't healthy. So it's choosing it's choosing the right thing, really, isn't it? Like, you can, like that, you can be vegan, but some of those products are just not going to be good for you.
No, they're not. I mean, if you look at the ingredients, the first ingredient is wheat gluten.
Yeah.
And that contains lectins, and lectins are highly, highly inflammatory and actually can cause us to have so many nutritional deficiencies.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, as I said, you know, it's keeping things really simple. If something's got ingredients that have E numbers in front of it, or actually if something's got more than 3 or 4 ingredients in it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Because that means our body has to really struggle with dealing with it. So if we take the struggle out, we keep it simple, then magic happens.
Yes, it actually does do what it's here to do. That's right.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
because
Fantastic.
you know, I think the fallacy of so many different things, we have to basically ignore them,
Yeah.
ignore the advice, and like comes back to is listening to our own gut instinct, because our guts tell us. They tell us not.
Yes.
They tell us not just, oh, I don't like that food when it goes in, but it actually tells us, no, 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 don't. Yeah, if we listen, you know.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I notice because I'm a chippy girl, you know, that would be my, it used to be actually. I tell you, so many things have moved from me over the years, and just doing, I did keto, lost 21 kgs, and that just changed the way that I looked at food and how I worked my body as well. It was seemed to be the right thing for me. And the energy levels that I had was just incredible. After dragging around for so many years, and the hormonal stuff, I think is a big, definitely a big thing to do with it all, and how these
Absolutely.
foods kick these hormones into gear or out of gear. But yeah, I noticed the crave for things. I didn't have the craves anymore. And over Christmas, we started, you know, went back into some foods that I hadn't eaten for a very long time. And, you know, pavlova, stuff like that. And I noticed the sugar cravey thing coming in. It was like,
Yeah.
no, this
Yeah.
is not healthy. I don't want this. And it's been lovely living without all that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean to say you can't have the occasional thing, but when
That's
you know,
right.
when we look at carbohydrates, so when we're looking at breads and, as you said, the pavlovas and those sorts of things, it means you only have once a week. If you
Yeah.
have 2 days in a row of that sort of thing, then the addictive tendencies come back in. So
Yeah.
it's not about deprivation at all. It's about moderating. And in
Yes.
fact, then when you do have those things, you really appreciate them.
Yeah.
Or you go, oh, that's too sweet.
Exactly. That's what
Yeah,
happens to me. It's like, oh my God, that's so sweet for me.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I was getting some electrolytes, you know, I thought I'll get electrolytes, and thinking the same thing, that I'm just, all fluids are going through me, not actually absorbing. And oh my God, they were sweet. This punnet I got was just so sweet. I couldn't take it.
And
Like,
that's where
why
salt,
would it be?
you know, good quality salt comes in as electrolytes. You know, we can make our own electrolytes.
Yeah. Well, I use the Himalayan salt. That's all I use.
So you make, I tell people to make a Himalayan salt sol, which is a saturated solution. And the reason for that is I get clients to take a tablespoon in a big glass of water like this one. And that way you're getting your electrolytes, you're getting the minerals and things, that other minerals from your salt. And so, you
That'll
know,
be a bit much.
well, you can do it in divided doses, you know. You just
Oh,
don't do it.
yeah.
You just don't do, like one of my clients the other day, she said she took the tablespoon and felt sick. I said, of course you feel sick. You know, just put it in water, you know, and you just drink it.
Oh,
So
she ate the salt, like the whole
she
tablespoon.
took the tablespoon of salt, so saturated solution. You don't use a tablespoon of salt, you use a tablespoon of the saturated solution.
Right.
And so you know exactly how much salt you're having.
I get
So
it.
This is the saturated solution. So this is here. So you can
Right,
see
I
there's the
see.
salt at the bottom. And so consequently, you know exactly how much you're getting, because it can be a really good bowel cleanse as well, the Himalayan.
Yeah.
So if you take enough, I mean, tablespoons not designed for that, but if you take a certain amount, you can cleanse your bowels out.
Right. Okay.
Amazing tools we have.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to do that because, yeah, that feels right too. Cool. Oh, Karen, you're fantastic. You really are. You're a wealth of information and wisdom. And I love
Thank
it.
you.
And I've loved this chat, loved listening to all your, the wisdoms, the gold nuggets. This is a valuable interview for people to really listen to and to find you too, because like I say, your products are beautiful. I love them. And yeah.
A
Now,
lot of love goes into them, that's for sure.
definitely, yeah, very, very much so. And you can feel that. I could definitely feel all that with them. But they're gorgeous as you are. And thank you so much for coming in, and thank you so much for all you do. And helping all these amazing people around the globe, I'm sure, around the globe. You do international.
You do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't send products so much overseas because they don't a lot of
Regulations.
the time. Yeah, but we do the frequencies of them. So that's another.
Okay.
So basically I've got these amazing frequency medicines. So yeah. So
Awesome.
yeah, we send those as frequencies. So yeah. So
Yeah, that's great.
mm.
That's awesome. Wow. Cool.
Thank you, Mandy. I really, really appreciate this chat. It's always lovely to chat. People are trying to get hold of me,
Yeah, I know.
and I
I
can't get rid
felt
of
that
them.
too. You would be getting
Yeah,
hammered.
yeah. Ah,
Oh, that's beautiful, Karen. Will you take great care of you and much, much love and all
thank
the
you, lovely.
best
Speak
for the
soon. Lots of
2024.
love.
Yeah.
And you. Lots of love. Thanks, Mandy.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I can't get